Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. I want to talk to you today about a woman who made a 17-page contract for rules of conduct. This is from Tinder, 2 weeks old. She had a relationship with a guy, and so she decided to make some rules. I wanted to talk about that. I had some strong feelings about it, and I'll have a link in the description box, and I'm going to kind of work through the article here and interject my thoughts, but I'll have the link in there for you to see that. And I'm kind of in a hurry here because I may be having my appendix taken out tonight. I'm going to be going to the doctor or go to the hospital for a CT scan, and then they may just keep me there and operate. So always thinking about the channel and foreigners and Filipinas, or just any men who want to get married. I wanted to do this video here today. And by the way, please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I've got podcasts on casting beyond the sea, and my website is lvbts.com. Now, this came from the New York Post, and it's about Annie Wright, 21-year-old woman, drafting a 17-page relationship contract after dating her now boyfriend for only 2 weeks. So I want to know what you guys think about that. Please leave a comment. From the article, while it's no 18-page letter to Ross Geller, whoever that is, Wright's contract to her boyfriend Michael Head, 23, was just as extensive. The contract came with 4 main objectives: honesty, communication, awareness of partners' needs, and clarity and alignment in their intentions. Sounds good, right? Well, personally, I don't have a big problem with talking about these things as long as the man is serious about marriage, but putting it in writing is, to me, not necessary and legalistic. Continuing, she says, I made the idea as a joke. Then he said, no, seriously. He's a law student. We can do that and talk about it. Wright, an Atlanta, Georgia native, told Kennedy News. The couple met last October on Tinder after he left a toxic, or she, I should say, Wright, left a toxic relationship, and she was determined to make this relationship with Head, a law student, work out. And my question is, but why would she think this is the answer? She says, at the time, I had braces in college and I was very embarrassed, said Wright. It was also pandemic time. But I got to the point where I was like, screw it, I'm going on dates with guys and don't care anymore. I matched with almost anybody on Tinder and would tell my matches, I'm going on a walk with my dog at 2 p.m. today. Are you free? It was a fluke that I met him. I was going on 3 Tinder dates a week to go out there and meet people. Thankfully, when Wright met Head, they instantly clicked. He was like, I want us to be boyfriend and girlfriend, Wright said. In order to be ready for that, we had to lay some serious ground rules. My question is, why is that? Why can't, you have a boyfriend without some serious ground rules? Within the 17-page document, Wright outlined all of her expectations for their relationship, which asked Head, her boyfriend, for no silent treatment, to pay for date nights, and to not isolate her from her loved ones. She says, we printed out terms and conditions. I went over to his place. We sat on either end of the bed and read them out loud. She recalls, I felt like the biggest issue I had in my last relationship was it felt like boundaries of mine were crossed that I never established. I was like, this time I'll write them out and no one can cross my boundaries. Michael's also pre-law, so he was pretty keen on the idea of making a contract. Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael sounds like a simp to me. We all have expectations going into, let's say, a marriage, but even then, you are going to be let down and disappointed from time to time. You can't be a wimp and run away from it. You have to be a man and deal with it. What is the purpose of putting this in writing? So he can study it every day? So she can throw it at him if he steps out of line? Marriage involves a contract that stipulates that you as the man are going to do everything, including laying down your life for the good of your wife. That's the way it should be biblically, regardless of how you are being treated. I mean, I don't have a list for my wife that says, here are the things you have to do, excuse me, or else. If she needs it, for example, she needs something, you get it for her. If she needs you for something, then you do it. You don't need a contract to have a civil relationship, I wouldn't think. You need to respond to situations proactively and for the good of the relationship. You take it one day at a time and do what you have to do. It is obvious to me, leave a comment if you disagree, that she does not trust this guy, her boyfriend. Not at all. If she did, why the stupid 17-page contract? If this couple wants a mandate, how about this one? Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. That's from Ephesians 5:25. In other words, your love has no bounds. So, I don't know that you have to talk about things like a list of all the prerequisites and codes of conduct. You do what you have to do as a man. You regard her as better than yourself. That's another biblical principle. No need for the idiotic notion of the importance of self-love. I've done a video on that, how I disagree with it. I don't think a good relationship needs rules and regulations like this young woman thinks that she needs. How about trust? Can't do that? Then find someone else. It's that simple. Continuing with the article, additionally, she asked for a romantic gesture once every 2 weeks and to work out, I assume that's both of them, at least 5 times a week. 5 times a week. I don't even work out 5 times a week. Wow, she will have to define romantic gesture, but since he isn't her husband, she has no right to sex, in my opinion. She can always get married, though. Although some people take 5 or 6, 7 years to do that. Then sex is their duty, his duty and her duty to each other. So she then doesn't have to tell him what to do on a list. God already has spoken. That goes both ways. When you are married, and if she was married, what is she going to do if her husband becomes unable to perform these gestures? If she has 17 pages of rules now, what might her contract look like if they get married? We treat our relationship almost like a business transaction, Wright told The Sun. We deal with conflict like partners in business would. We sit down and treat it more like we're partners in life, and love is an added bonus. This just strikes me as being a little odd. Is it business partners or partners in life? I don't understand. They're not the same thing. And don't get me started on love after only 2 weeks. People are often confused what love even is. I don't like single people talking about love. I don't think they have to yet. There is a general love people should have for each other, yes, and there is marital love, which is quite serious and unselfish and involves self-sacrifice. Here's the biblical definition of love. If we say, I love you, you ought to mean this. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, love is patient. Most important thing, because it's listed first. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love, here's the hard part, if constant patience wasn't enough, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Now, to me, if you're not ready to tell somebody that, then don't. This passage is so all-encompassing. It applies in everything, and especially in marriage. All you need to do is write this down, refer to it, or memorize it, then follow it in your relationships. That's not 17 pages. Your spouse isn't measuring up to your expectations? Well, then you need to be patient. Don't insist on your own way, because that would be selfish. If your spouse is not doing what you want, well, you can talk about it, but you also have to bear with it. Your spouse just isn't measuring up to your standards. Well, as long as they are possible, believe that they can. That is your command. We are to endure. Your spouse still doesn't do what you want? Then keep hoping that they can. Pray to God for your patience and endurance. Pray for them to be obedient to God, but don't threaten. You have excuse me, no right to do that. I would drink water, but they don't want me drinking before this CT scan. We're all far from ideal. If your spouse just isn't getting it and being the kind of husband or wife you want them to be, well, so what? You and I have an obligation to God to be the husband that God wants us to be. And that's why I focus on what the men do here in this channel, Love Beyond the Sea. The more any of us are like the person God wants us to be, the less we have to be concerned about needing to badger others with our rules and regulations and legalism and wish lists. If we measure up to God's standard for us, our spouse is sure to respond in the right way. There is no need for silly and selfish regulations. Clearly something is working. This is from the article. Clearly something is working for the two of them as they're approaching their anniversary. Wright joked that her boyfriend will want to add a clause or two of his own, including taking off shoes in his apartment, which she always forgets to do. This has been a game changer, said Wright, that's the woman who made the list, who is surprised more couples don't do things like this, that more couples don't draw up contracts when they're dating. She says, I'd recommend all couples have one. It's the best thing ever. Now, why would anyone do this? Again, it is like trying to legislate love. You just do it. You do it when you don't want to do it. You do it because you have to do it. You love despite how you are being treated. You're patient. You must be. This isn't easy. If being on the receiving end of some kind of verbal abuse or not getting what you want results in you not fulfilling your obligation to love your spouse, then you simply don't love your spouse. You do what you should do. This is why I hate to hear about people saying they love someone if they're not going to go out and prove it for life. Today, it is all too common that saying I love you means I love you as long as you give me what I want. But that isn't love. People just fall into relationships, says Wright. This makes me know what I'm signing up for. I live in constant fear of waking up 2 years into a relationship and realizing my partner doesn't have the same life plan as me. You've put 1 or 2 years into a relationship, but you don't agree on the core things. If you don't have that core connection, you're wasting time and prolonging heartbreak. At this point, we update it every 6 months or so, then revisit it or visit it. Now, why would anyone, be so dense that they would not agree on the core issues earlier than 2 years? No one knows what they are, signing up for when you get into a relationship. No one is omniscient. They may not even tell you everything for a long time. They may never tell you everything. She sounds to me like she is just plain fearful of relationships now. When you are afraid and don't trust, you draw up 17-page contracts and then make later additions as time goes on. I seriously doubt anyone you marry is going to have the same life plan as you. Why would they be expected to? I wouldn't worry about having the same life plan, whatever that is supposed to be. I would be consumed with being if I was her, the best wife I could be or the best husband I could be. Focus on what you can give, not on what you can get, and you will get plenty. This is the opposite of the way many people think. The contract, Wright claims, is what contributes to their relationship success. We're partners in this, Wright said. We're agreeing to tackle life together, and this is our game plan for doing it. I just don't think man-made selfish rules and regulations are going to help them. I'm looking at the table of contents here, and there is a table of contents and page numbers about boundaries. It says about me, family, future stuff, objectives they list here. I wish I could show you, and I also need to be going to that scan. It says this document aims to assure both parties that make up this relationship that they will enjoy lots of benefits, which include but are not limited to the following: honesty, awareness of your partner's needs, clear communication, and alignment in our intentions. They talk about honesty for objective 1, communication objective 2, awareness of partner's needs objective 3, clarity and alignment in your intentions, that's objective 4. I'll just pick out this one here. Communication. A successful and strong relationship is not built in silence. It is expected that both partners talk to each other, express feelings, and listen to one another. Communication assists couples in decision making. And then it says define what this objective aims to accomplish. It's already making me uncomfortable here. They talk about boundaries. Understanding each other's boundaries will transform our ability to communicate and help nip issues in the bud before they overwhelm us. It says they're saying no. I know you may find it easier to sacrifice your own needs for me. B, if I ever ask something of you that goes against your principles, disrespects your time, or forces you to sacrifice something important, it is okay to say no. It does not have to be harsh, but please be assertive. Well, a sacrifice, that's something you're going to have to do a lot in your relationship if you want it to last. Number 2, A, it's about prying. When I am ready to talk, I will. As you know, I go silent when upset. I understand this can be concerning and stressful for you. However, prying and putting me on the spot can result in emotional outbursts and saying words I do not mean. She also clearly set boundaries for nearly every situation a couple could be in, it said. Then there's another one, number 4, ignoring each other. A, this is not applied to workaholic mode. However, I would like a courtesy text before you disappear, but this is not expected. During a fight, B, if I cannot reach you, 0 communication for longer than 2 days, 48 hours, I will assume we are done, and so on. Then friends and family, number 5, paying for dates, number 6. I know you are traditional and want to pay for everything, but this is not feasible or realistic. I will pay or Venmo you for my meals that are not dates. So romantic. These are times when we happen to be together and happen to pass a meal at time, like the drive-through or grabbing something to eat. Wow, to me it is clear that she wears the pants in this relationship. She has asserted herself. But that's what the man needs to do right away. She is the one casting the vision with this contract for their relationship, and I don't think that's right. Men need to do that. When I married my wife in the Philippines, I didn't know a whole lot about her. As we got engaged in 18 days and married on day 54. I talked to her about biblical roles in marriage. I would love her as Christ loved the church, give up my life for her, always do what's best for her. I told her I needed a helper, someone who would submit to me, not because I was a controlling tyrant with a bunch of rules, but because the Bible tells both of us that is the way it's supposed to be. And again, love is already described as I showed you in 1 Corinthians 13. And here she was, a lot younger, from almost 10,000 miles away in a different culture. We didn't need any list of rules and regulations and expectations. The only expectation I have is that I love my wife. If I do that, I shouldn't have too much to be concerned about. And I know this makes some people uncomfortable, but as a husband, the buck stops with you. You are the head of the wife, the head of the marriage. You should marry a woman who will follow you as you follow God. There may be tough times ahead, but that is hardly headline news. You need to persevere. You need to keep doing what is best for each other. I don't need a 17-page, ever-increasing contract to have success with my love beyond the sea.